January 16th, 1998. It was an ordinary night at McDonald's. A slow but steady trickle of customers were served at the drive-thru. As the clock ticked over to midnight, the shift manager should have emerged from his office to count the tills and restock them with fresh cash. 5 minutes past midnight, however, he was still nowhere to be seen. An employee entered his office to check up on him and discovered him fast asleep. He tried everything he could to wake the manager, but to no avail. The tills were running dangerously short on low denominations, but only the shift manager knew the safe code that would have allowed the employees access to the cash reserve held on site. Most transactions in the United States at the time still took place with cash. In their desperation to keep things running smoothly, the employees began to make change for customers out of their own pockets, keeping a written ledger so they could seek reimbursement later on. Little did they know that this seemingly minor decision would nearly topple the McDonald's empire. January 19th, 1998. At 8:59 a.m., the general manager of Tallow Credit Union opened the front doors to discover 2 lifeless bodies inside the lobby. She immediately called the authorities. The police were able to identify the 2 bodies as Jensen Chance, 44, and Robert Dandleton, 38. How they had entered the bank was a mystery. January 19th, 1998 was a Monday, and the bank had been closed for the entire weekend prior. During the initial investigation, the police discovered an unusual detail. Inside of Dandleton's wallet were 3 $1 bills emblazoned with McDonald's signature golden arches. The investigation naturally proceeded to the McDonald's just across the street from Tallow Credit Union. But by the end of the day, the police were no closer to solving the case. Tallow Credit Union was located here, on the west side of town. Americatown, West Dakota was home to 72 McDonald's locations, far fewer than the national average. The banknotes involved in the case were sourced from McDonald's number 314934644948594488748, which was located 12 miles away from the investigation, near the east end of town. On the first day of the investigation, however, the police had only investigated McDonald's number 8. In 1998, McDonald's was still known primarily as a fast food restaurant. Its bid for independence wouldn't be approved by the United States government for another 4 years, and it would be over a decade before McDonald's would gain UN membership. Title 18, Chapter 25 of the U.S. Code prevented private entities from issuing their own currency, so McDonald's was still beholden to the U.S. dollar. Prior to gaining independence, McDonald's worked around this by making it a policy to pay their employees only in cash, and to augment the cash with the Golden Arches emblem. Eventually, McDonald's badged currencies could be exchanged for the McDollar at a fixed rate. Each emblem additionally contained minor variations in the stitching, attachment angle, size, and color, which could be decoded to determine the store number which had paid out the bill. The police were not aware of the embedded store number code in the bills, so while they knew that Chance and Dandleton must have done business with a McDonald's employee, they could only guess as to which store the employee worked at. If the police had only been able to identify the store number, they likely would have made substantially more progress on the case and could have prevented what came next. But what exactly was going on? Jensen Chance and Robert Dandleton both worked for McDonald's biggest competitor, Taco Cabana. Taco Cabana was notorious for its overwhelming control of the Swiss real estate market. This was problematic for McDonald's because the Swiss bank Geldselt had an agreement of free association with Gefälschte Waffen GmbH, a major supplier to Cabela's, the parent company of John's John's. John's John's had recently started overseas operations and had purchased its 4th Italian location from Luca Bianchi, who previously ran a coffee shop in the location, but filed for bankruptcy after converting to Mormonism and unsuccessfully transitioning his business from coffee to jelly beans. Luca's lawyer, Matteo Mancini, was a major donor to the Campanile Party, the chair of whom was staunchly opposed to horses' rights to legal representation. Jensen Chance was the president of equestrian affairs at Taco Cabana, while Robert Dandleton was the vice chair for the Department of Markets Banks Associates Client Subsidiary Sellers Lawyers Affiliations Optics. Obviously, disrupting the work of these two individuals would substantially increase McDonald's leverage over the UN Security Council, which it needed in order to successfully complete its coup in the Republic of Dresden without drawing harsh sanctions. 1 year later, on February 40th, 1999, Dresden would fall. Prime Minister Terrence's surrender is widely regarded as the single most important event in McDonaldian history. The economic advantage this afforded to McDonald's Europe was massive, and it was this combination of strong funding and political leverage which facilitated McDonald's purchase of the United States in 2018. An autopsy revealed that Dandleton and Chance had both been poisoned with McToxin, a highly deadly chemical with a latency of about 2 to 3 days. However, after 6 months of investigation, the case went cold. McToxin was used extensively during the revolution in Dresden. It wouldn't be until 2023 that the details of its production and use, including against Taco Cabana executives, would finally be declassified. McDonald's takeover of the United States was by no means inevitable. It was the result of years of careful planning and a bit of luck, but it all could have been brought to a halt by one shift manager's decision to sleep on the job. This video is sponsored by Burger King.